We are constantly told to look on the bright side. We search endlessly for a flawless soulmate, and we reassure each other that everything will eventually work out perfectly. But behind closed doors, we are exhausted. We snap at our partners over tiny disappointments. We retreat into a silent sulk when a friend forgets a minor detail about our lives. We scroll endlessly through our feeds, yet feel a lingering emptiness we can't quite shake. Our culture's relentless demand for optimism effectively manufactures our daily rage. By expecting life to be smooth and people to be perfect, we build the very engine that generates our anxiety. To actually find peace, we have to stop trying to be so positive. We need a heavy, deliberate dose of pessimism. A calm mind is not the result of frantic hope. It comes from looking directly at the worst-case scenarios, the inevitable flaws, terrifying reality of our own fragility. The clearest guide to this approach comes from ancient Rome. The Stoics were a group of philosophers who believed that conventional optimism actively destroyed human sanity. Consider the Roman writer Seneca. He didn't develop his ideas in a quiet, safe academy. He was forced to serve as an advisor to Nero, a dangerously unpredictable dictator who eventually ordered Seneca to commit suicide in front of his own family. When we are terrified about losing a job or a medical diagnosis, our friends often try to comfort us by saying, "Don't worry," or "It'll be fine." The Stoics hated this. They saw hope as an emotional drug that only raises our expectations, ensuring a devastating crash when things go wrong. This chart shows how that cycle works. An optimistic expectation sends our mood upward, but when reality hits, it violently crashes into anxiety. To fix this, the Stoics practiced rehearsing disaster. They advised sleeping on the floor in dirty clothes and eating stale bread, just to prove to themselves that even if the absolute worst happened, they would survive. They applied the exact same logic to anger. We don't yell at the sky when it rains because we know rain is a normal part of life. We only get angry when we are surprised by a negative event. If we actively expect betrayal and failure, our emotional baseline stays completely flat when those things actually happen. We can calmly navigate a difficult world by intellectually accepting that cruelty and misfortune are standard features of existence. Once every tragedy is already priced in, nothing can unexpectedly disturb our peace of mind. This principle applies just as urgently to our living rooms and kitchens. We carry a dangerous level of optimism into our romantic lives. We see this clearly when we sulk. We give our partner the silent treatment over a minor offense because we are holding on to a childhood fantasy. When we were infants, our parents guessed what we needed without us using words. We unconsciously expect adult love to work exactly the same way. We search for a flawless person who perfectly matches our tastes and intuitively understands our moods. But these perfect beings do not exist. Everyone on Earth is deeply, bafflingly complicated, and expecting them to read our minds guarantees constant frustration. The pessimistic solution is to assume from the start that the person sitting across from us cannot possibly understand us automatically. Instead of getting angry, we have to do them the honor of hosting a small seminar. We must use calm, patient words to explain our strange internal lives. Compatibility is not something we magically discover on a first date. It is a slow, difficult achievement, built on a realistic acceptance of our mutual flaws. To fully ground ourselves in reality, we have to look beyond our own relationships and confront the ultimate limit of our existence. In 1927, the German philosopher Martin Heidegger outlined a way to do exactly that. Heidegger knew that we spend almost all our time hiding from our own mortality. We wrap ourselves in what he called chatter. This is the endless stream of media, trivial conversations, and societal pressure that reassures us our emails and our status symbols actually matter. This noise acts like a thick dough, smothering our connection to a much more terrifying concept he called the nothing. The nothing is inexistence. It is the absolute, unavoidable end of our lives. Every day, we walk around as highly temporary, easily broken organisms, spinning on an inexhaustible rock in a silent and entirely uninhabited universe. Facing that massive empty backdrop isn't meant to paralyze us. By aggressively cutting through the trivial chatter and acknowledging our extreme smallness, we force ourselves to focus on the brief, intense reality of being alive. To build a resilient life, we have to endure a heavy psychological loss. We must hold a funeral for our optimism, bury our dreams of a perfect soulmate, and walk away from the comforting noise of society. Facing the nothing reveals our shared fragility. When we see ourselves and every other person, animal, or tree as briefly alive against an infinite backdrop of silence, the barriers between us begin to dissolve. We recognize a profound kinship with everything else struggling to exist on this delicate planet. Rehearsing disaster, expecting incompatibility, and staring into the cosmic void are not acts of despair. They form a coordinated strategy for emotional invincibility. When a student once asked Heidegger how we might recover our true, authentic selves, he offered a blunt piece of advice. We should simply aim to spend more time in graveyards. By giving up the exhausting pursuit of a perfectly happy life, we rid ourselves of the anxiety that destroys it. Acknowledging the dark guarantees that whatever light we do find is entirely real.